Good morning, everyone. My name is Troy Hilton, and I'm the Senior Director of Association Affairs with the National Association of Basketball Coaches. On behalf of the NABC Board of Directors and staff, I'd like to thank you for um, attending today's webinar. We are honored to have four panelists and a moderator that are dedicated to making college basketball the best it can be and donating their time here today to make sure we are all on the same page. And with that, I'd like to introduce today's moderator, former Division I head coach and current ESPN basketball analyst, Fran Fraschilla.
Thank you, Troy, and welcome to everybody. We've got over 300 coaches on this today, and it's just, I think, a very, very needed, useful part of your ability to coach your team during the season. I think anybody who knows me knows how passionate I am about the rules, and I'll simply tell you guys that I know the rules better now than when I was coaching. When I was coaching, I could go up to a guy like Chris Rastatter during the game and ask him, "Hey, can we sub that guy back in?" And when I'm now a part of a TV broadcast, if I don't know a rule that and it looks like I'm not an expert, and I do miss the rules, trust me, and it's really hard for all of us to know them, 100% of them cold, but it's really important for you, your coaching staff, and even your players to know the key rules. And so we're so grateful to the NABC and to the NCAA and our great panel today to be able to, the video that Chris Rastatter puts out on behalf of the NCAA for coaches is very, very useful. But today we're able to take it maybe a little bit more in depth, especially because each year we're confronted with, that's probably not a great word, but that we're dealing with a new rule or a new rule interpretation. So thank you for being here today. With that, I just want to introduce our panelists. Jeff O'Malley is the NCAA Secretary Rules Editor for men's basketball. He doubles as the AD at Lamar University. Chris Rastatter, who's the NCAA Men's National Coordinator of Officiating. And it's my opinion, but he's done a phenomenal job of kind of connecting all of us to the rules and making the game better. John Blazek, who is the D2 Men's Basketball Coordinator of Officials. Jim Haney, the D3 Men's Basketball Coordinator of Officials. And of course, we want to thank Craig Robinson, Troy Hilton, Nate Palmaday, and everybody at the NABC office for putting this on. John also doubles as the JUCO Rules Coordinator. We want to make sure this is not just D1. There are some things that I think are going on at the D3 and JUCO level as far as technology that maybe it's not available to them the way it is at D1 and D2. So we'll try to cover as much of this as possible. And with that, I would like to open it up first to Jeff O'Malley to give us an overview, Jeff, of the key rules this year and any thoughts that you have on the implementation of those rules. And then we'll go to Chris next.
Awesome. Thanks, Franny. I appreciate it. And thanks to the NABC for putting this on. I really appreciate the feedback we get from the NABC and situations like this and meeting at the convention. It really helps us kind of formulate the rules as we move forward. So we did meet in May. We have a number of different rules changes. We had 10 and really some of the most important ones, and I'll run through them all real briefly, but we instituted a pace of play package. We really feel like our game is dragging a little bit and the flow of the game could be better, especially in the end of game scenarios. So there's going to be an increased emphasis this year on our coaching delay rules and our playing delay rules. So getting in and out of timeouts, reduce huddles. So shooting free throws quicker, instituting throw-ins quicker. And also, not throwing the ball to an official after a made basket, just get the ball and go. So we're going to put an emphasis on that. Part of the pace of play package, it also includes the coaches challenge. So, from this year, goaltending calls, basket interference calls, and out of bounds calls now have to be challenged. Coaches are going to get one challenge per game. If they are correct, they will get a second and final challenge. You have to have a legal timeout in order to call a challenge. And then in the last 2 minutes of regulation and all of any overtime periods, the basket interference goaltending calls, and also the restricted area foul calls will revert back to the officials to be able to review those calls without a challenge. But anytime prior to that, those calls do have to be challenged. The out of bounds plays will still be a challenge call throughout the entire course of the game. So that's the pace of play package. Real quickly on some of the other ones, headbands can now be 4 inches. I know people aren't real concerned about that. If there is a shot clock malfunction, before we would turn off both shot clocks. Now one shot clock is going to remain on, and the public address announcer will announce time intervals like 20, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on. So there has been a change to our player suspension rule for fighting and for contacting officials. So if a player is still going to be suspended for the next game, but if they happen to not sit out that next game, then the coach and the player will be suspended for the following game after that. So that was across all sports in the NCAA. They did make changes to suspension rules, and we had to do that as well. Music during dead ball situations when the clock is stopped. So we're going to allow music during dead ball when the clock is stopped, kind of mirror the women's game. They've done it for a number of years without issue, so we're going to do it as well. We have changed our designated spot throw-in locations. So if a foul or violation occurs in the front court from the free throw line extended all the way down to the baseline, that throw-in is going to be on the baseline. Before, we had a little trapezoid area that was not always implemented the same way from game to game. This is going to be a little bit easier. We have changed our illegal assistance rule. So if you use the rim or the backboard to gain an advantage, in prior years, that was a Class B technical foul. This year, it's just going to be a violation. So we're going to mirror the NBA on our rule with that. So we're just going to, go violation, and then the offended team will get the ball for a throw in. And we also had a little tweak to our out of bounds rule as well. So and these are intentional acts, right? If there is an intentional act where a member of your bench personnel physically assists a player who is on the floor, that's going to be out of bounds, right? So you may have a player on the floor that's their momentum is falling, they're falling out of bounds. You have a teammate or a coach may stand up on the bench and push that player back onto the floor. That is going to be ruled to be an out of bounds. It has to be intentional act. We understand, coaches are coaching during the game. There could be an unintentional consequence of a coach, hitting a player when they're trying to direct somebody on the floor. If it's not intentional, we're just going to officiate it the same way we've always officiated. Just ignore it and go on. 2 other big rules that we did change. So we had a number of plays last year that involved shots to the groin. Those plays were, unless it was clearly accidental, that player was ejected. That was a flagrant 2 foul, and that player was ejected. We did tweak that rule. It still lives in the flagrant 2 space. However, upon review, if the officials can judge the nature of the contact and the result of the contact, and they can deem that to be a flagrant 1 or a common foul. And that falls in line with how we adjudicate blows to the head. So we're going to referee blows to the head and shots to the groin, both the same way with that. So it gives the officials a little more leeway in adjudicating those fouls. And then finally, which I know we'll get into too, is our continuous motion rule. So when looking at our continuous motion rule, NCAA men's basketball had the most restrictive continuous motion rule out of any of the leagues, high school, the women, the NBA, or FIBA. So we wanted to expand our continuous motion rule and reward more athletic plays and let some of those plays finish and score. And so we did open that up. So you're now allowed 1 step after contact to continue that play and score the basket at that point. And we can talk a little bit more about that later. But those are an overview of the 10 rule changes for this year.
Hey, Jeff, before we throw it over, I just want the coaches to know, for example, the coaches challenge is something that coaches have to dive into. Jeff just gave you the overview, but there's a lot of little nuances there. For example, Jeff, would you explain there's a difference between the coaches challenge and the typical coaches appeal?
Yes, that's a great question, Franny. Thank you for bringing that up. So we do have those three coaches challenge plays: the basket interference goaltending, the restricted area foul calls, and the out of bounds calls. The coaches appeals plays that we've all known and loved for a number of years, those still exist and they're still living that space. So if you see a potential flagrant foul, you can still ask the officials for the review of those plays. And if you are not, if that flagrant foul is not there, those officials can still charge you a timeout for those reviews. But the flagrant fouls, if you see a scoring or timing mistake or any correctable error, you can ask the officials to appeal those as well. And the officials also still maintain the ability to go review those plays on their own as well.
Thank you. I would just reiterate, guys, we're giving you the overview. I've done some research and read up on the new rules changes, and there are a lot of little nuances there that you need to investigate. And I think in the coaches challenge, Jeff, there's a lot more than what we've just talked about, right? Both coaches going and reviewing at the same time or asking for a challenge, and a lot of things that are in there that they need to know about.
Yeah, exactly. So, timeout situations, right? You have to have a legal timeout in order to call a challenge. That's something that mirrors what the NBA and the G League has done as well, and we kind of use their rules as a roadmap to base our rule off of. So, there's also, with our media timeouts are different than what the NBA and the G League does. But if there is a media timeout, you still have to call a legal timeout in order to review. And if that call is not overturned, you're still going to lose a timeout and you're going to lose your challenge at that point too.
Thank you, Jeff. Chris, I would think that you would want to piggyback particularly on coaches' challenges and continuous motion. Do you want to pick it up from here?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to, Franny. Thanks. Uh, and thanks everybody for having me. Good morning to all on the call. Look here, I'll just start with this. Jo does a tremendous job as chair of their rules committee. Well, he's not chair, but he runs the meetings. So he's done a terrific job. All the questions that you have spinning in your head and you want to ask, I promise you, they got asked and answered. We went over this for hours during the rules committee. We really gave it its due. And where we landed on continuous motion and the coaches challenge, I think we're in a good spot. And here it is. Here's where we are. So, and I tell the same thing to the referees because they're the worst. Well, what about this? What you guys think about that? But we did. We asked and answered every scenario we could possibly think of. And there's a lot of different people in the room. So I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. The second thing I will say is I know with the change and there's a lot of, what's going to happen and all that stuff. Let's just give it a minute. Okay. There's going to, like I said in the video, there'll be a little, period of adjustment. So November, December will be that time. And I know every game matters. I get that, but you all will adjust to it and you'll figure it out as you go. And so will the referees. It'll take them a minute. They're not going to be perfect right from the get-go, especially on the continuous motion. We're going to miss some. We're going to miss some where we should have counted it, or we're going to miss some that, we should not have counted it. Well, believe me, I think we'll figure it out by November, December. I'll continue to put out plays and messaging as we go. First couple of weeks, we'll see how it goes. We'll put out plays. Hey, everybody, here's what we're going to do. But I really believe the regional clinics that we had leading up, and they're all in person. So there's, we're right in front of these people. We're looking in the eye. Here's how we want these plays officiated. Here is the rules associated with a coach's challenge. I really think we're in a good spot. Just give it a minute, work through it. It'll be fine. The continuous motion, Franny, we had this conversation the other day where look, the plays that I put in the coach's video, it's the play, the guys going to the basket. That's the play. That's the play we're talking about. That's 90% of what we're doing. We looked at how many, Jo? I mean, well over 1,000 plays. I'm just telling you,
We did.
plays, man. And in terms of the rule and how we landed on the interpretation where ending the dribble, contact with a foot on the floor, which would be the pivot foot, you get to one step. Last year or leading up to the years, you don't get that step. Well, now we're giving them that step because these kids are so good. They're so athletic. Boom, contact step, count the basket. 90% of what we're talking about. They're going to be the one-offs. They're going to be the, I don't know, did the dribble end? Okay. I told the referees, I'm not losing sleep over this. You're going to miss a couple. Okay, we're going to miss them. But we'll get it as we go. Things will come up during the season, because these kids are, here's the thing about rules, and at least as I see it with you all and with the players, is you get a rule. Okay, well now you're going to adapt to that rule. And the kid with the last play we put in, the Auburn play where the kid gets hit, he takes a step, and as he's falling, he throws up the basket. Well, that meets the criteria. He was going to the basket. I mean, he picked the ball up at the foul line. What else is he doing? He's going to the basket. He got hit and he made a great play, an athletic play. Okay, well, we're going to reward that. So you all will adjust. The players will adjust. We will adjust. I think it's going to be really good. Part of that rule, and we said this in the video, and this is really important too, is the officials have to judge that player is attempting to score. That has to be part of the play. So you can't be going east-west, get the bump and then go, and shoot. No, that's not you weren't trying to score. So we've talked about that. And there'll be a couple really hard ones. I get it. The last second shot, right? They throw the ball and we turn in the half-court shot. Well, if they're down 3 with 0.6 seconds to go and the kid catches a throw-in pass, what else is he doing? Of course he's looking to shoot. Maybe if there's 12 minutes to go in the first half and he gets bumped from the other end of the floor and he turns and fires it, he wasn't attempting to score. So those are the kind of things that we'll work through. But I've already told the referees you're going to miss plays. It's okay. It's going to happen. I'm not losing sleep over it. We'll get it right. And I know believe me, I know down the crunch time, in under 2 minutes, and we want to get that call. We'll figure all that out. And by the way, if you don't have a timeout and you can't challenge, the officials still can come together. It's a team officiating play, out of bounds, continuous motion. Those are team officiating plays. So if I put a whistle on the play and JL comes over and says, Chris, that's white ball. I'm telling you, that's white ball. We can change the call on the floor and do it that way. So
Chris, what are you telling, give us, and by the way, thank you for the questions in the Q&A. A lot of them we're going to cover, so hang tight. We've got plenty of time. But Chris, what are the mechanics of the coach's challenge from the standpoint of the officials that you think could clarify it for our coaches?
Okay, another good question, Franny. So look, now here it is. On an out of bounds call, look, at 15 minutes of the first half, we're probably not looking for you to challenge that call. I get it. But in under 2 minutes on an out of bounds call, everybody in the crew's got to be aware. We're all looking over. Fran, are you going to challenge this? We're not talking to you, but we're looking at you to make sure we don't miss you challenging a play. But if the ball goes out of bounds and we make a call, you have until that ball becomes live. That is until I hand it to the thrower in. Once that ball is handed to the thrower in and the ball's live, you can no longer challenge that play. So here's what we're going to tell the referees. We're not in a hurry to put that ball in play. I'm not running over there, grabbing the ball and say, hey, Rico, putting the ball in play, especially in those critical moments. We're going to take our time. We're not going to unnecessarily delay the game. I'm not going to stand over there and give the old wipe the ball on my jersey or wipe up the floor and make over there to make sure you have a chance to look at your iPad on the bench you want to challenge. We're not going to unnecessarily delay the game, but we're not going to put the ball in play in a hurry either. We're going to be aware. Situational awareness is what we talk about. Fellas, you got to be aware, right? Under 2 minutes, it's a 1-point game. That's a big call. Let's do the right thing here. Make sure we don't miss a coach asking for a delay. Hey, you want to challenge? You want to challenge? Nope. Boom, ball's in play, and here we go. Once that ball's live, window closed. Same thing, I'm on a timeout if I can, just real quick, Franny. Whether it's a media timeout or whether the opposing coach called a timeout, the ball went to white. Now the coach for the white team, hey, I want a timeout. Great. In all those situations, whenever there's a timeout, the referees make sure the teams get to their benches. Everybody's good, ready, okay. Start the timeout. There's literally a signal of the referee looking at the table, giving it the spin, let's go. Once the referee does that to the table, that window's closed. I don't care how many timeouts you have left, you cannot challenge that play. So once the ball's live, or once we go start the timeout, window's closed, no challenges.
Okay, let's get this out of the way. John and Jim at the D2 and D3 levels, we've already got questions about, video review, monitor review, the equipment. What is the philosophy at that level? And I have to think, guys, some of the low major guys, I can't imagine that in some gyms you're going to get instantaneous review on the iPad. Maybe you will, and that's great. But John, why don't we start with you at the D2, and then Jim jump right in.
Well, thank you, Franny. Great question. Once again, at the D2 level, we're really fortunate. I would say all of our leagues and all of our schools have the replay. So what Chris Rastatter just talked about on replay goes right in the hands with the Division II as well, Franny. So we're right on the same page there.
Okay, all right, and as long as you're the JUCO guy too.
Well, that's something I would mention. I think I would imagine it's a lot like what Jim's going to say. Fellows, I'll just tell you at the junior college level, most of you don't have it. And I will tell you, it will hurt you at the national tournament because they do have it at Hutchinson, Danville, and Herkimer. And if you don't know the replay, it will hurt you at the national tournament. It's time to go to your athletic director. There's lots of options. The price is not extravagant to get replay in. It will eliminate 99% of your headaches from the officiating standpoint or guessing like that. But that's something I was going to mention before we were off. I have seen people at the national tournament in the junior college win a national title because they knew how to do replays and timeouts back to back. So if you're a junior college guy, you got to go ask for it because everybody else is getting it and you're not.
Jim?
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you having me today. D3 is in the infancy of replay. Right now, we have there's probably 90 to 95% of our games are live streamed. And we range from an iPad at the scorer's table that the official can go over and rewind the live stream in one camera angle to a complete production crew in certain instances where we might have 6 or 7 angles. So it's going to be this is only the second year. Not all of our conferences are on board yet with replay. We are getting there. This coach's challenge rule will help us get there. Everybody thinks that the cost is astronomical. And really, all we're trying to do, coaches, we're trying to get an official to have at least an opportunity to get it right, whether it be one camera angle with a young girl or a young student videotaping, or a production crew that's got 6 or 7 angles. And if we can just get an iPad, or we can get a laptop computer sitting by the SID with the live stream up and running, it at least gives us an opportunity to correct errors that in the past we were unable to do. So we're just progressing to that point. And hopefully this year, I don't know the exact number, but hopefully this year there'll be more conferences going, knowing that literally all you need is an iPad. And whatever you're live streaming, put your live stream up on the iPad and have the ability for the official to go over and hopefully get a look at it. Now, is it going to be perfect? No. There's going to be out of bounds plays. And one of the things, Coach, that I would also say, because of our situation, it'll be really important that a coach in a gym that he's not familiar with has an assistant go out before the game and see what angles they are, so they don't waste a challenge incorrectly on a play, a deep corner and an out of bounds that you have no shot at seeing the replay of, regardless, unless you have 6 or 7 cameras. So I think that's going to be part of the pregame for a coach or an assistant coach, is to go out and see, one, are we using replay? And two, what camera angles are we going to be able to see so that we can correctly use our challenges that night? And also, if we are not using replay, coach, there is no coach's challenges in our game.
Got it. Got it. All right. This is brilliant stuff you just mentioned. And I was going to hit on this. I have encouraged coaches to practice the coach's challenge in practice and scrimmages and make sure that you have a game plan at any level, D1, D2, D3, JUCO, because this is what we call handling pressure situations in the non-pressure time of the off season. And one of the reasons these gentlemen coaches are so kind to give their time up today is to help you become better coaches. I love that, Jim, about, I think even at the Division 1 and 2 level, the coaching staff needs to know the DV, the DV angles and where they are and how they may affect the game. Chris, you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, if JO, because I don't think we talked about it in our games, if if the whole system goes down, JO, or angles and such, can you touch the
Yeah. So if there's a complete failure of the replay equipment, and like a coach challenges the play, and then they go over and they looked at the like replays down, somebody kicked the plug out or whatever, and it's a complete failure, like we're not going to charge a challenge or a timeout to a coach in that situation. But that's only for a complete failure. I mean, if you go over there and like the angle's not right, or the camera operator fell asleep, like replay is still available at that point. So that is going to be a challenge. They are going to be charged for that as well. But if there is a complete failure, there's not going to be a charge timeout or challenge.
Got it. Got it. All right. Let me go back to continuous motion for a second. I was at the Auburn Oklahoma State game 2 nights ago. And Chris, just so you know, and Jeff, I saw 5 continuous motion fouls where the player drove, and as he was as he was planting the last foot, he went up, was fouled, and they called the foul, I think correctly. And it got me thinking, I bet these 2 coaching staffs have practiced the idea of continuous motion because it makes sense to me. I don't know how you guys feel. I know you're not coaches, Jeff, but can you kind of elaborate on something like that so it'll help coaches?
Yeah, so we kind of broke it down for the officials, and Chris has done a great job in elaborating on it. But we broke it down to like three key points, right? The foul has to occur after the dribble ends. So in order to be deemed in the shooting motion, that dribble has to have ended, right? And I know the NBA uses the term gather. We don't have that term in our book, but we have definitions of what the end of dribble are. So we went with that. So the dribble has to end. And then if there's, and then the official, like Chris talked about earlier, the official has to believe that player has started the normal throwing motion that precedes a shot, right? So the official has to believe that person is attempting a shot at that point. And then if there's contact after the dribble ends, the official determines that they're in the shooting motion, then you're allowed one step after that, or you can complete the pivot foot. So we have the 3 things, right? We have the dribble ending, the official believes that the person has started the normal throwing motion, and then you get one step after that.
Chris, this is a question that I have not thought of, but it's going to be very interesting. And I don't know if you've thought about this with your officials, but the end of the game, down 3 situation where the defense is likely to foul because they don't want to give up a 3. They'll take the 2 free throws. I have a feeling, my gut feeling tells me there's going to be some controversial plays at the end of some games where the team is trying to foul, but maybe they foul a little late and the player is ruled having started continuous motion. Have you talked about that with your guys? And if whether you have or not, give me your philosophy because that's going to be critical.
Yeah, we talked about that actually quite a bit, Fran. We had some last year. We had a number of plays last year. So, and here's the teach. Again, in that situation, situational awareness, everybody's on high alert. They're down 3. There's a second to go in the game. Of course they're going to try a 3. So that's the whole crew, the entire crew needs to be aware of what's going on and hopefully be in a position to help. But it comes down to this, Franny. If that offensive player catches the pass and now they're going to turn and shoot, or if they put the ball on the ground, all the same rules apply. If he puts that ball on the ground, well, he better end that dribble before the contact. And those are the hard plays. He puts it down one time. Now here comes the defender. Now I'm ending the dribble. And, you know, what I say in the videos and the teach during the season is we don't want to split hairs. We're not hair splitters, man. There's just no way you can. The game happens so fast, right? So there's no way you can, you know, look at it and say, oh, clearly contact, you know, if it's all kind of close and all happens at the same time, then he's going to the basket. That's kind of the general rule of thumb. So in that play,
but that play, but John, Chris, that play is going to happen at half court.
Sure it is. It's going to happen all over the floor. It's the last second play. Doesn't matter to me where it happens, Franny.
Right,
It's the situation is, hey, that kid's looking to score. Okay, then great. Then everybody's got to be on alert, right? And here's what's going to happen. But the same rule applies. But here's also the teach we talk about. If the further away that defender is from the ball handler, the more likely that ball handler will be in the act of shooting, will have started that shooting motion when contact occurs. But if that defender is like right up on him and that pass comes in foul, okay, he hasn't started that shot yet. But if I catch it and I turn and now here you come, oh, dude, you're late. I'm already shooting. So that might be a little, I don't want to, tell coach how to coach, but.
Oh, that's coaching. That's why you guys are on. John, I definitely want you and Jim to chime in on this.
Well, hey, in the final, can I make one more thing though?
Yeah,
thanks,
go ahead.
It's not reviewable, Fran. Continuous motion is not a reviewable play, which means we cannot go over there and look at the monitor and say, oh, he clearly started before contact. Not reviewable.
Great.
That's why we have team officiating. Everybody's got to be on board. Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Hey, Fran, I just want to go back to something I really learned this summer. And I mean, I love listening to CR talk because he is so good at breaking plays down. But I was sitting at a high-level camp this summer. High-level referees were evaluators, but high-level coaches were there recruiting. And they got talking about this continuous motion. And this coach says, we're going back to the old school layup drills because when you watch a layup drill, as a player, as a referee, the more you watch those layup drills, you get a feel when they're in the motion or when they're not. And you know what? I sat there and I thought, that's a junior high mentality, but that is so powerful. CR's talking at a half court shot. You guys are. Okay, you're going to have a few of those. You're going to have a lot at the basket.
Yeah.
If you go back to your layup, and I can't coach basketball, coach. I've been told I can't referee basketball very well. But if you go back to the layup drill, that is something that's really good for kids getting ready to get fouled. Do they have control? Are they off? Is the hand going? And your layup drill is how you can mentally pick up this continuous motion until you feel comfortable in the air. And that was pretty simple. I thought that was some good teaching that coaches may want to hear.
Oh, I loved it. And I think when we talked the other day, I think, the coach in me says we're going to do the layup line with managers and assistant coaches fouling you in the act so that you're used to contact and that, you get the N1, the old school 3-point play because we've practiced it and we've practiced playing through contact, which a lot of coaches do already. Jim Haney, jump in on this.
Yeah, Fran, I think this year for Division III, it will be a period of adjustment because we have the younger, more inexperienced guys on our games that are just coming up. And there's going to be some growing pains for all of us, me included. You probably want to take a picture of me now and then see in February if I've changed any after gray hair or whatever, because there will be some instances where our younger officials are going to make mistakes. And, that's why I'm in a position I am, is to coach them up, to get them better. And I got to let them fail. I got to let them fail to be better. So we will have more growing pains than D1. And these plays will occur more at the D3 level. And there will be probably a little bit more mistakes at the D3 level initially. And hopefully, as we go on and we keep watching videos and plays, we'll get better at it, Coach.
Awesome. Awesome. Chris, are there, I know you mentioned it earlier, but can you elaborate on some of the points of emphasis that you think will be important for coaches this year to, let's say, make that impression on their players so that they are in the best possible position, let's say not to foul or play good defense?
Sure, Franny. In terms of the playing rule points of emphasis, look, and I said this on the video, I am still, I'm going to die on this hill, but the physicality of the game, I just think we need to do a better job officiating that. So what I've said in this year's points of emphasis is, look, we're going to try to find a balance between the art and the science, right? There's an art to this thing. These kids are so athletic and they're so good, but they're big and strong and fast. Much more so than when I was coming up, years ago. They're just bigger, stronger, faster. It's a harder game to referee. So you can play through some contact, but at the same time, any contact that puts an opponent at a disadvantage, and I put that in the book. We used to talk advantage, disadvantage back in the day. Well, we kind of took that out. Well, I put it back in, because if contact puts an opponent at a disadvantage, then the play needs a whistle. And whether at the disadvantage is holding a cutter, or a post player getting knocked off their legally obtained spot, anything like that, or a 10-1-4, the disadvantage is the ball handler, we need to put a whistle on it. Just put a whistle on it, put the ball in play, and let's go. That was the message at the clinics. When I talk to coaches, and I talk to a lot of you, I like to go in the locker room before the game, and I hope you all don't mind, because that's a chance to be, one-on-one. Two-way coach. Chris, the game is too physical. And I know I made a little joke in the video. Not one time has anybody ever said, Chris, they're blowing the whistle too much. I just don't hear that, which tells me we need to put whistles on plays. Call it straight up. Call the game the way it's intended to be called. And that's where we are. So that's in terms of that. The other things really we talk about is game management. J.O. mentioned the delay of game package, right? Well, we need to keep the game moving. The length of the game and how it slows down towards the end, we take a lot of that heat for going to the monitor too much. And I believe there are times when we go to the monitor when we don't need to go to the monitor. We can be better at that. Look, I don't think it's all on the officials, the length of the game. And I know the NCAA doesn't think that way. Dan Gavitt sure doesn't think that way. And I appreciate that support. But we are going to do our part, Franny, just so everybody knows, we're going to do our part to keep the game moving, shorten the length of game. So the delay of game stuff we talk about, like the players now, you'll see the players, they catch and they throw the ball to the referee. And I don't care if they just scored the basket or if they're going to be the new offense, or they throw the ball to, that's got to stop. That kind of stuff has to stop. Not being ready to play when we're ready to go. It's like, hey, come on, fellas, let's go. So things like that, Franny, we're going to do. And look, the game doesn't need us running around telling everybody, hey, here we go. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about trying to hurry the players. We don't need that. But we can take an opportunity in those dead ball situations to make the game flow. Last thing on that is well, two things. Our clock awareness and our clock management, we've gotten better. We're better than we used to be, but college basketball referees are just not great clock referees. I mean, we don't always know where the shot clock is or where the game clock is, and we need to be better at that. So we shouldn't be going to the monitor in the first half at 12:22 in the game to put the shot clock from 25 to 24. I go gray when stuff like that happens. We should know where the clock is, turn around, fix it, put the ball back in play, and let's go. So that's the one thing. Then the other thing is going to the monitor. All three of us are going to the monitor now, Franny. All three at one time. So if there is a challenge, or if we're going to go to an appeal, whatever we're going to do, teams are going to get to their benches, and then three of us are going to go. We're going to look at it, come away with a decision, and put the ball back in play.
Great. This is good stuff. Just a side note, housekeeping. Is the officiating video available to any non-NCAA coaches? I'm just wondering, and I also know there's some NCAA coaches that haven't seen it. Is that video available or just NCAA coaches?
Well, it's in there. It's in the portal for the NCAA, the D1 guys.
Okay.
I'm sure we can make it available, Fran. I know we're going to put it up on our queue after the window closes for the coaches that need to watch that. We'll post that on our queue. So
Okay.
they'll have access to it there, but only after the period. And I think that ends right at the end of this month.
John, before you jump in, I know there might be some media guys on here that are really trying to get better. I mean that. Guys like me who, if you don't know the rules, you're really not an expert. But I'm sure I might be able to facilitate it if it's really important to you. John, please jump in.
Yeah, for the non-NCAA people like the National Junior College coaches, call your coordinator, call your commissioner, because I sent that out and I have access to all those people. That sent out after Chris's final meeting in Phoenix. I sent it out the afternoon of October 4th to every junior college men's basketball league coordinator. So if you're on here and you have not seen it, the video's there, what we discuss in meetings is there. So your coordinator has it. I had two of them call me yesterday and I said, look at the email on October 4th. Well, they found it. So the National Junior College people that maybe are not part of the NCAA, but they're on RefQuest now, they have that with their league coordinator. If they don't, have them reach out to me. I'll get it to them, but I sent it to them on October 4th. That'll help answer that question, Franny.
Is that the clinic video? Sorry, Fran. Is that the clinic video, JB?
It's what Alex sent me.
I thought we were talking about the rules video.
Oh, I don't know, Fran.
I'm thinking of the coaches video that Chris.
The rules video that Jo and I put out. Right. Yeah. That one I don't think you have, JB.
No,
right?
I don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And
somehow we'll make that available, but I don't think it will be until the coaches window ends.
Okay.
At the end of this month.
Anything you want to jump in on here?
Fran, the D3 coaches are required to watch the coaches video also, just like everybody else.
Yep.
And if there's a problem or if somebody needs something, they should contact me or their coordinator, especially media people that are doing such a good job at our D3 level of promoting our games. I'd be glad to share the coaches video with them. Just have Wade or have Troy or whoever reach out and get me their information, and we'll make sure that everybody who needs the video will get it.
Okay. Hey, Chris, one of the things that you and I have talked about this, you guys have done a great job with this, but would you re-explain the straight path drive and when it's a foul and when it's not a foul? I think you guys have really cleaned that up in the last year, but I think it's still a little confusing for some coaches who don't go out of their way to kind of learn that rule.
Thanks, Franny. Straight line path.
Straight line path.
112.
Straight
Yeah.
line path. Thank
Straight
you.
line path.
Yep.
So all we talk about there is when a ball handler obtains a straight line path. That's right out of the rule books. It doesn't have to be going to the basket, but that's most of the time what we're talking about, right? You make your little move and now you're going to the basket. Okay, but once I obtain that past the basket, that defender can't initiate any contact. He needs to reestablish in that ball handler's path for it to be an offensive foul. So the defender then, rather than chasing or coming up, here's what was happening, Fran, is so now I've got a path and I'm going to the basket. Well, here comes the primary defender, kind of comes at an angle, throws that shoulder in and gives it get back, and then we're calling offensive fouls. Well, that's not the way the rule's written. And we kind of reinterpreted it in the last 3 years to be more of that defender needs to get around and in front of that offensive player. And once they reestablish that position, okay, now it can be an offensive foul. So basically it's again, benefit of doubt goes to the offense. If I've attained a path and I'm going to the basket, that it's a defensive foul. It's just a block. It's kind of like I saw a question about the last foot. Remember we talked about 2 years ago, that secondary defender's got to get to that spot before that plant foot goes down and the guy elevates and goes to the basket. Well, if it's close, it's a block. Just because we've watched so many plays, it's going to be a block. And if we get 95 out of 100 of those right, I can live with that. So we just go to the block. Now that straight line path, the last part of that is, look, the defender can just go along and move laterally along with that offensive player. That's fine. And if it's the offense who changes their path, leans into that defender, wards off that defender, well, that's going to be an offensive foul. But barring that, if there's contact that disadvantages that ball handler, it's a block.
Got it.
We want that play called because we want guys going to the basket unimpeded illegally.
Excellent. Hey, Jeff, this is a out of the blue question for you. Was there any thought on challenges and coaches' challenges or even monitor reviews that, like at the end of a game, that it's actually a free timeout for a coach with no timeouts left? And the question was, have you thought about putting the players like somewhere else besides the bench? I know it's something to think about.
Yeah, there was a discussion on that, and I don't know if we talked about it this year or last year, but we did have that discussion. But I know going to the challenge rule this year and actually charging a timeout or having to have a legal timeout to have a challenge, that's kind of gone away, right? So that free timeout for these out of bounds reviews, which was the most reviewed things that we had in those end of game situations. So that's no longer going to be a free timeout at that point.
Okay. And one other thing on the coaches challenge, are there any other small things that, we all know the basis of the rule, but it seemed to me that there are some other small things that, that can be involved in the actual challenge. Any other tips?
Yeah. So the other thing in there too is we did put in there, and I stole this from the NBA, right? If there is a delay a game, if there is a delay a game warning or a delay a game Class B technical foul that's called on a team, they're no longer going to be able to challenge that play beforehand, right? So if you have a situation where you have an out of bounds play and then players are faking injuries in order to allow coaches more time to review the videos on the bench, the officials are going to have discretion to call a delay a game on a team for doing that. And then that would close the door for challenging that out of bounds play.
So that would be obviously a warning first.
Yes, you get a book warning, or you get a book warning first, and then it's a Class B technical foul. But either if you have the book warning or you have the Class B technical foul, that's going to shut the door to the appeal.
I would think that you
to
would
the challenge.
I would think with a smart aleck coach who's going to try to circumvent that rule, that you would give him the warning first, let's say with 5 minutes to go in the game, and the next one, no warning, Class B technical.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we're gonna, if there's, we talked about this delay a game package early on, and coaches are gonna, we've taught the officials. Chris has done a great job with this too, about just having a little leeway early on in a game, right? So if they're not quite getting out of timeouts early on, give a courtesy warning, that doesn't go in the book to those coaches, if it's early on in a game and early on in the season, until coaches get a little more used to this and the players as well.
Let me jump in here on a couple things. I said earlier, I know the rules way better now than I did when I was coaching. Coaches, I would just encourage you, even the head coaches, who I know you're very, very busy. Oh, by the way, if you go on NCAA.org/playing rules, you can order all of the rule books, all of the case books, and to my knowledge, Jo, they're also easily downloaded for free.
They are, absolutely.
You can literally print out a rule book and a case book today after this And I would encourage everybody to have somebody on their staff that knows these rules. And if I'm a head coach, I would throw a rule book in my suit, in my backpack or my briefcase. And when I'm sitting on the beach in August, I'm going to read 10, 20 pages of casebook plays because these plays are coming up. And I'll give you two really easy examples. A player cannot run out of bounds on purpose and be the first to touch. If you're running a floppy action, and I guarantee you 90% of the players don't know that rule. The other rule that's just drives me nuts is when a player saves a ball from going out of bounds, his momentum takes him out of bounds and he comes back in bounds and is the first to touch. That is a legal play. Am I correct, Jo?
You are correct.
All right,
100%.
there's about 100 of those plays in the rule book that maybe you can't get them all to your players, but I can tell you during the season it drives me nuts when a kid doesn't know the rules. So that's my 2 cents. All right,
Drives me
Jeff,
nuts
what else?
when the
What else?
referees don't know the rules, Franny. So-
Well, on occasion,
'cause we missed that play.
well, you know, and I know that on occasion when I've asked one of the officials, the really good officials will say, you know what, I need to get back to you on that. When it's a crazy rule.
Yeah, but
All right.
yeah, that's our job.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think it's important, coaches. I'm telling you. I might have mentioned this. I didn't mention it to you guys, but my son is with the Wizards. He's the challenge guy, man, and he is under pressure this season. But he tells me he tries to read the NBA rule book once every month, because of how important it is in their season. So I just think it's critical that it's an area that we don't give enough attention to, that I honestly think, and I'll explain one more thing, and I hope Juwan Howard will not mind this, but we all remember the incident a couple years ago with Juwan Howard and Greg Gard, Michigan and Wisconsin. And let me give you the breakdown on that. Wisconsin's up 20 late in the game. Greg Gard's got his walk-ons in. Juwan Howard's still pressing. That's fine. Coach your team, no problem. The ball gets deflected out of bounds underneath. It's late in the game. Walk-ons are in. The ball gets deflected out of bounds underneath Michigan's basket, which means the shot clock, and it's deflected by the defense. The shot clock does not reset if the defense deflects it in the backcourt. There's 22 on the shot clock. Wisconsin's walk-ons have got to go 50 feet to get it over. Greg Gard smartly calls a timeout to give his walk-ons a chance to get it over midcourt. I believe Juwan, who's a good guy, got upset because Greg Gard took a timeout. And the only reason in my mind, he took the timeout is just to help his walk-ons. I don't think Juwan knew the NCAA rule in that situation. I don't know if that makes sense, Chris, but that seemed to be what happened when I saw it. And it was just an issue of Juwan not knowing the NCAA rule. So these things happen all the time during the season.
Yeah, little things like that, Franny, right? Or those can be different. Let's say that's a 1-point game or 2-point game. I mean, now it's, you need to know. So, right.
Yeah.
So defense knocks it out. The 10 seconds doesn't reset.
Yes.
Call a timeout. So he calls a timeout. Now they got 10 to get it across. Great.
But let's make it clear now, just so these coaches know, Chris, if the defense calls a timeout and the coach of the offensive team doesn't know the rule, he thinks he's getting a free timeout, but he doesn't get the 10-second.
There you go. Right.
Correct.
Right, Jeff?
Yep. You are correct.
These are rules that I swear most of us don't know unless you read the rule book. Hey, John and Jim, jump in here on anything else you want to hit regarding where we're heading with this stuff.
I would just like to just touch up a little bit. I mean, the D2 coaches in the leagues that I work with are really on top of it because Chris has done such a great job, and JO with Division 1, 2, and 3 officiating and moving it up the ladder. The junior college level, I see lots of newbies. And I would just like to remind you coaches, even though you're newbie coaches, some of you, get in a rule book like Franny said. We can tell if you've been there on your road trip. Some of you have an hour, some of you have 7 hours on a road trip. But get in the rule book. Let me remind you, in junior college, you have no dunking. Remember, the racial slur in junior college is really tough. It's an automatic F2 with a game suspension. If you're ejected out of a game, coach or player, out of sight, out of sound. Know the difference between the NCAA and the NJCAA rules. It's in the back of the rule book, some of the things. Ask your athletic director to look at the discipline of the unsporting acts that you have to fill out if you have an ejection. And just remember, as I talked to Tom McDonald, who's the guru of junior college basketball committees, early in the year, the challenge rule, if you have replay, it's going to be new. And you can ask a referee, hey, can I challenge this? Now, come late December, you got to know the rule. But this is a learning thing for some of you that are just getting replay. So don't be afraid to ask a referee as you learn. Some people that don't have replay that are learning it need that. So those are some things I want to touch up, Fran, with the national junior college coaches that I deal with, because Chris does such a great job with D1, 2, and 3.
Jim?
What I'd like to say, Fran, in ending would be, it's time for the D3 coaches now who do not have replay to start pushing administrators, pushing their conferences to get replay, and know that it doesn't matter whether it's an iPad, a laptop, that just a minimal to give everybody a chance to use the coach's challenge and to get us on up into the away from the infancy stage. We have live stream. We have an SID who has the live stream sitting there at the scorer's table. All he has to do is put it on another laptop for the referee to use. It's time. We're in 2025, 26. The cost is minimal. I'd hate to have them not be able to use this new coach's challenge rule because we can't afford to have an iPad or a laptop, and we're not using replay that night for whatever reason. But I need the D3 coaches. They know it. We've pushed it. We've talked about it with the Library of Congress. It's time for all of us to get on board here.
All right. Here's a question that's come up, and I think I know the answer, Chris, but is the first to touch rule, player going out of bounds, back in bounds, is that challengeable since it's an out of bounds situation? I think I know the answer, but it's a good question.
You can challenge the out of bounds call.
Oh,
You can't challenge if he's first to touch when he comes back in.
okay.
Yeah.
That's
How'd I do, JL?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a great question.
Yeah, good question. Yeah.
That is a great question. But
Friend,
yeah,
it's a friend of mine, and I'm gonna tell him that's a good question. But again, the point is, coaches, and you have coordinators, you have officials, and I'll just share this. We all have referees come in and watch practice and then give us the little update on the new rules and challenges. I think if there's an official you're comfortable with in your area, and he might not even be officiating your league, that might be, and tell me if it's a little sketchy, Chris. But if there's a college official in your area that comes in and referees your scrimmage, and maybe he's not in your conference, from a TV standpoint, I'm always having breakfast with, right now it's Randy McCall, who's a Final Four official up in Denver, now that I live in Colorado, and we go over everything. And this is a good segue, Chris. I know we're not going to stay on too much longer, but this is a good segue to talk about coach officiating dynamics. And you said it best. It's not just the science of the rules, but it's the art form of, and I guess the word would be human nature. So I'm going to give all of you guys a chance to kind of expound on that. But Chris, why don't you set the tone with the regarding coach officiating dynamics?
Sure. Thanks. Franny, I love that you talked to Randy because
Yes.
he's just one of the best of all time.
Well, he used to officiate my games in the Mountain West, and I
I remember.
he's getting so much better now that I left coaching.
Me too. Yeah. Look, here's my thing with the referees. And I talk to these guys, right? I get in front of them and I don't care. There was things I was really good at when I was an official, and there was things that I was not as good at. And one of the things I was not as good at was a coach communicator. I was really good with the players, man. And I could work the game and get through the game and manage that situation really well. I had more difficulty with coaches, not all of them, but just it was sort of a challenge for me. And my thing to the referees is it's not personal. You can't take things personally, but we're there. We have a job to do, and our job is to run the game. So do your job. Referee the game with confidence and humility. And if you have an opportunity to have some interaction with the coach, great. If the coach, it's the temperament, really, Franny, right? It doesn't matter to me what I would get up next to a coach and you can say anything, pretty much anything you want to me, as long as it's me and you standing here. Because I don't care. Just tell me what you think. I don't care. But if you're going to do it and now people are watching and now you're putting me in a position, different story. So we talk communication. Look, I know our job is to get the plays right and wrong. That ultimately that's where it is for us. But to manage, it's a service industry, right? The officials are there to serve the game, and the game is the players, the coaches, the administrators, everything that happens at the game. That's our job, is to serve those people and to serve the game. So have that kind of understanding and mindset when you go in. My job is to serve those to serve the game. So that's why I'm here, but that's why they're there. And we have those conversations. So you want to keep it professional, side by side. Every referee is different. I can't tell each official how to act or what to say, because everybody, but you got to be you. You just got to be comfortable in your own skin. And then just don't take it personally.
And just talk about the side, and all you guys jump in here. Jim Haney, the D3 guys are as intense as Bill Self and Tom Izzo. Talk about sideline histrionics.
Yeah, we talk a lot, Fran, about bench decorum and guys running up and down the sidelines in D3. And the problem we have, and this as a veteran coach, the younger generation right now, the communication skills with coaches is a whole lot different than when I was a young official coming up in the Metro Atlantic or in the Big East or whatever. I was taught by Tim Higgins and Bob Donato and John Cal and, all the guys that you communicated with all your life. And so I learned right away what I needed to do because they were willing to mentor me. But today, the coaches need to take some responsibility for their own actions, but the officials need to be a better communicator. They take it personal. They throw up the defense shield. And honestly, coach, and this, and I've said this to Chris and John, it'd be better right now if I could give a referee a phone that he could text the coach from across the court and the coach could answer. There'd be less fireworks in Division III because nobody can look each other eye to eye anymore.
I love it. Hey, I want to share this story because I've told this story to officials and coaches, and they really liked what I had to say. I was coaching Manhattan one year. We're at Notre Dame. We had a good team. We were up, and the three officials were from the Mid-American Conference where I started at Ohio U. And I felt like we were the better team. We were up the whole game, up 10-12. And there was a call late in the game that I thought was kind of a ticky-tack call against us. And I simply said to the three officials, I said, John, if we're good enough, I want to win. If we're good enough, I want to win this game. And my point was, what the hell have you been watching for 38 and a half minutes? The better team. And it was just my way of the official smiled. We ended up winning the game by 10 anyway, but I just didn't want to. I just wanted to let them know, like, hey, I know we're only the little Metro Atlantic school here, and we're playing Notre Dame, but we are better today. So there's an art form to talking to these guys. A question that's come up, a great question. Would you please, guys, talk about? And Chris, I'll start with you. Wait a minute. No, let's start with you, Chris. Assistant coaches. And because, again, they're the younger generation, to Jim's point, and just the fact that you really don't want to hear from them.
Look, to me, the assistants are a lot of times the voice of reason.
Okay.
In situations, and I generally had a pretty good relationship with the assistant coaches. But but there are certain situations and times, Franny, yeah, where I don't need the assistant jumping up and, giving his opinion on a play.
Yeah.
They had to have a little bit of awareness there too. Like, now's not the time. There is a time. I've never, ever, ever taught, said, or I would never, don't talk to assistant coaches. Are you kidding? Again, you build those relationships and they can be helpful at times, but I don't need them being up the whole game, screaming and yelling. Look, get up, do whatever you say to your team, your defensive play great, then you got to sit back down. That's fine.
So you're saying in some cases the assistant coach can diffuse the head coach.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It can really, like I say, a voice of reason on the sideline. So look, but we don't need him up, complaining on every call. That's going to get my hackles up. I just wanted to one thing because Jimmy talked about it with the bench decorum. We took that off this year as a point of emphasis, and I don't know if anybody picked up on that when I was talking about him. I just took it off of there because I thought last year, for the most part, things went really, really well. I mean, you're going to have your moments. It's passion, right? I mean, that's part of the game, and that's why we watch it. Everybody's passionate about it. That's why we love it. But I don't think there was a consistent, need to address the sidelines. At least for me, the games that I watch, and I watch a lot of basketball. I just felt like it was pretty good. Sportsmanship was good. We did our job. Coaches just coached, and when they don't, then we get involved and we got to do what we got to do, and that's fine. But I feel like it's in a good place, Franny, and going in the right place because to me, look, we're all in this thing together, right? We're all stakeholders as much as anybody else, and we need to be moving this thing in the same direction. And I feel like we are with the coordinators that you all have. The coordinators and officials across the country, I'm telling you right now, they are first ballot Hall of Famers, every one of them. And we are doing the same thing, talking the same thing. We're all on the same page. And I think that has kind of a, trickle down effect on the game itself. At least I hope it does. That's how I feel about it. So.
Well, I let me add here as we'll close up here in a few minutes here. I get to travel the country with these guys. Oftentimes there's a 6 a.m. flight out of Lubbock. And the best thing I could say to them is I didn't mention you guys once last night. And they all give me a fist bump or a high five because they don't want to be, they don't want to be part of the story. I'm not just saying this, Chris, you know how I feel. We have some of the best people in sports officiating. They take a lot of crap. They're on top of the rules. They're on top of the game. They really care about the game. And I think I would just say thank you to the NABC for this because you can watch the video, which, Chris, you do a great job of, but having this kind of interaction. And I would just say one more time, this is a continuous 12-month process that you know the rules as a coach and make sure your players know the rules. Jeff Van Gundy taught me this a long time ago. Make as many pressure decisions in the non-pressure time of the off season. And that means being in scrimmage situations with your players and having crazy rules come up, explaining it to them, the over and back rule with the deflections. There's so many little things that your kids need to be aware of that will make your team better. And I just, I can't thank you guys enough. Jeff, I just want to ask you, is there anything we missed today that you want to hit on or?
The one thing that popped up is substitutions. We have a rule that if you sub out of a game, you're not allowed back in. But if we've taught our officials to try not to bring subs in until if there is a challenge, try not to bring them in until we know the results of the challenge. But we did put an interp out that if you do bring subs in and then the coach subsequently challenges that play, if that play is overturned, you are going to be able to bring that sub back into the game in that one scenario. But that's in the interp document, and that's something that's new to this year.
Would you explain to our coaches that in the last minute of a game, if you take a guy out, excuse me, if the team fouls or commits a violation and no time is run off the clock, you could actually put the player back in without time going off.
You said the rule perfectly. So, we normally have a what we refer to as a tick of the clock rule, that if you're, if you lead the game, you have to sit out for a tick of the clock. But if there is a throw in and there's a throw in violation by the throw in team or a foul, you can then bring that player back into the game.
Okay. Jim, to my recollection, never teed me. I think that I got that right.
That's
any point in the
correct,
game.
Coach. Our relationship is still good today.
Very good, man. And John, anything else you want to add?
I just go back to I'm the old guy in the years of, and I'm an old coach. I'm an old college football coach, high school coach, principal. You know, I always go on the sidelines with one last thing. If you ask a question, you're going to get an answer. If you make a statement, they're going to referee. If it's inappropriate, we got to follow the rules, and they don't take it personal. Just treat them no different you would your AD if you're needing something. But and that's what we use. I really preach on the D2. So you know, good luck. It's going to be a great year, and basketball is really in good hands with Chris and Jo and the guys.
I concur with that. And one more time, thank you to Craig Robinson and Nate Pomaday and Troy Hilton and the great NABC staff putting this together. And again, the rule book's free if you download it at ncaa.org/playing rules, but order a couple, give them to your assistant coaches, make them read it. It's going to make you better coaches, that's for sure. And we wish everybody luck this year. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys on the road. And Chris, I'll see you soon, I'm sure, somewhere.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, all the best, everybody.